When it comes to the shop, garage, or even in the home, finding a large enough work surface for larger items can be a real pain. In this month's Xtreme DIY, brought to you by 80/20, we're going to take a look at an application that can alleviate that problem: the mobile folding Worktable. This Worktable provides a custom surface and allows for ample storage. When collapsed, it provides a great mobile workstation that can easily store away without taking up a lot of space. The fold-down extensions provide an on-demand work surface while keeping all of your supplies safely secured inside. Need a little extra table space for those tools while working? Flip up one side of the table to give yourself a little extra elbow room, or flip up both sides for those larger, bulkier projects. Not only does the Worktable provide storage for commonly used tools and supplies, but the pegboard on the side also gives a little extra room for those things like hoses, cables, and cords. And like all 80/20 products, this Worktable is durable, long-lasting, and can be completely customized to fit your sizing and space needs. Let's check in with Phil and see how this project comes together. All right, Phil, looks like we've got a pretty large build here. Where did you decide to start at?
Well, for this project, we're going to break it down into two sub-assemblies: our primary body and then our extensions. So far, I've started with this basic ladder shape, which we'll be using to build the primary body.
Fastening method-wise, where did you decide to go with?
Well, primarily we're going to be using end fasteners, which will help with our alignment and speed up our assembly process. And then for these cross supports, we've elected to use anchor fasteners, which will just let us slide those into position before we tighten everything down.
Now, for those, do those have to be in any exact position, or can they go wherever?
No, the great thing about the anchor fastener is we can visually line everything up before we're ready to tighten it down.
All right, it looks like we've got a few more bolts to tighten down, but after that, where do we go next?
Well, we're going to go on ahead and duplicate this ladder 2 more times and save those for future steps in our build process, and then we'll be ready to move on to our uprights.
All right, sounds good.
All right, Andrew, before we add our uprights, we need to go on ahead and preload our long bars with 1/2 of our double end ball catch.
Okay.
I've already preloaded the hardware onto the ball catch, and then what we're simply going to do is slide those onto the long bar, get them centered, and tighten those down, and then we're ready to add our uprights.
All right.
All right, before we mount our uprights, we need to preload a couple T-nuts into our long profile that will be used to mount casters to the base of our frame. Once those T-nuts are into position, we're ready to mount our upright supports. Once those are in place, we need to also preload our cross supports with 2 T-nuts. These will also be used to mount casters to our frame.
So once we've got our cross supports and our vertical uprights on, we're ready to install our casters. Now, to do that, we're going to take a longer bolt and a washer, and we're going to feed it into the corner profile, and we'll tighten it down. Now, once we got that one all the way in there, we're going to take a shorter bolt and a washer for the other 2 and feed it into those preloaded T-nuts Phil put in earlier. Now, once we're done with that, we're ready to install our first panel.
Now that we have our base and uprights in the position, we're ready to install our first panel, which is made out of HDPE material. You might be familiar with this from our previous Xtreme DIY, the pop-up workbench. What's great about this material is it's warp and chemical resistant, and it can also be used as a whiteboard for taking notes while you're working.
It sounds like the perfect panel for this application.
That's right, Andrew. Now, to install this panel, we're going to start by dropping in some roll-in T-nuts into our long profiles. We'll then line everything up with the countersunk holes of the panel, take some bolts, and then tighten everything down.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right.
For the middle shelf of our Worktable, we're going to begin with the same ladder-shaped subassembly as the base. From there, we'll slide on our preloaded gusset to each end of the long profiles. After that, we'll simply drop our shelf onto our base and secure it to the frame using our gussets. So we've got our shelf frame in place, and the great thing about these gussets is you can loosen a couple of bolts and adjust the height down the road when you need to, or you can simply take the shelf out altogether. Now that we've got the frame into place, we're ready to add some panels. So it looks like you've got a couple different types of panels here, Phil, right?
That's right. We have another panel that we're going to be installing for our shelf. This is the same panel that we used before, and it's going to install in the same method. We also have an HDPE panel with a textured side that's going to help hide scratches and blemishes. And we also have this HDPE pegboard that we're going to be installing. Both these panels will install on the side, and they slide directly into the T-slot.
So this pegboard will work really well with some hooks and hanging extension cords and other larger tools, right?
That's exactly right, Andrew. So why don't we go ahead and take these and get these installed?
Great. All right. So it looks like you've got another sub-assembly here, Phil. How's this different from the other two?
That's right, Andrew. This final ladder segment, we're actually going to be dividing into 3 sections based upon our crossbars.
Okay.
We're going to be taking these preloaded hinges and sliding them into position and getting one even in the center of each of the 3 sections. These are going to be used to mount our extensions.
So once we have those secured into place, we're ready to cap off the main part of our build. We'll put some crossbars at the end on top of our panels, and then we'll slide in this sub-assembly and tighten it down. From there, we're ready to start building our extensions. So Phil, we're ready for our extensions. Tell us a little bit about them.
Well, Andrew, these segments are going to be very similar to our ladder segments that we've already built.
Okay.
The similarity is that we're going to be using both anchor and end fasteners to join this together. Now the difference is that we started with a basic U shape for this. Then we decided to use full profiles with anchor fasteners for our cross supports.
So both of these extensions are going to be identical, right?
That's right, Andrew. All we'll need to do is finish this, and then we'll mirror that process again.
That sounds super easy.
That's right, Andrew. So once we finish this one, we'll just be ready to add on our pivots, and then we'll be ready to join everything together.
Great.
Our next step in this build is going to be the pivots. We're going to take the pivots and mount them to the inside of this frame. We're going to keep those a little bit loose. That way we have an easier time adjusting when we mount the legs later on.
Now once he has the pivots installed, we're going to take one last bar and cap this off. But before we do, we're going to add the other half of the ball catch that we installed earlier. We'll use some bolts and some T-nuts, slide this into the open T-slot, and tighten it down. From there, we'll add the bar, and we'll be ready to move on to our legs.
Now installing the legs for this application is actually very simple. We start by threading on our leveling foot. The great thing about these leveling feet is they're easily adjustable and can accommodate different surfaces. Once that's done, we take the leg profile, slide it into the pivot arms, and then tighten those down.
Now on the pivot nub, we left the bolt loose earlier so that when we install the legs, we can offset them so that they don't crash into each other. So we'll tighten those down, we'll repeat the process for the other extension, and then we'll be ready to add them to the main part of our build. So we've got our extensions attached to the main part of our build. To do that, we simply slid our extensions onto those preloaded hinges that we already had attached to the main part of our build. From there, all we have to do is finish with a few panels.
That's right, Andrew. Now these panels are going to install the same way as our shelf and our base panels. Once we have those in place, we'll be ready to add some end caps to the exposed profile ends, and then we're ready to put this cart to use.
Now the mobile folding work table is great for just about anywhere, from at home, in the shop, at the garage, or even at work. This work table is truly a custom solution, giving you an on-demand workstation when and where you need it. Thanks for joining us on another segment of 80/20's Xtreme DIY. Remember, if you want to download design files or for more information on this work table, please visit 8020.net. But until next time, make it a great day.